Okay, so before we start the mimer, just a few words about Yontif today. You're not aware, it's called Pesach Sheni, and it's a Yontif that is in the Chumash. It's one of the 613 mitzvahs. And how do we celebrate Yontif today? Years ago, the way it was celebrated was only for those people that missed out on bringing a korban Pesach on Pesach. So Hashem put a mitzvah in the Torah that if you missed out, you could make it up a month later on the exact same day, Yudalid Iyar, which is exactly a month from Yudalid Nisan when they brought the korban, and you could make it up. Because not bringing a korban Pesach is a very severe thing, very severe consequences. It's chorus, Rahman al-Islam, but you could make it up. And today, we don't have korbanos, so the way we commemorate or celebrate Pesach Sheni is two things. Number one, we eat matzah. So this afternoon, after class, we'll have lunch here, we'll be able to wash and have matzah here together. Because when they had Pesach Sheni, they also ate matzah together with the korban Pesach. Of course, the difference is then when they ate matzah, they weren't allowed to have chametz in the house. Today, you're allowed to have chametz. So actually, in the same room, on the same table, you can have matzah and chametz. Yeah, and the second thing is we don't say tachron. So if we said tachron today, I don't know how you could reverse it, but you don't say tachron today. The only interesting thing about tachron is, which Pesach Sheni is different than other holidays, every yontif, when you don't say tachron, you also don't say tachron the day before mincha time. Like Shabbos, we don't say tachron to mincha. Rosh Chodesh, we don't say tamchon the day before Rosh Chodesh, mincha. Pesach Sheni is an exception. That even though we don't say tachron today, but yesterday, mincha time, we were supposed to say tachron. But there's two things just to mention about Pesach Sheni. First of all, the famous Hayom Yom, where it says, let me read the words, but it's good for everyone to see the Hayom Yom inside themselves today. The Hayom Yom says as follows: Pesach Sheni means in Yiddish, as nishta came farfallen. Normally, it's translated in English, it's never too late. But never too late is not an accurate translation. It's sort of paraphrasing it. But really, farfallen means lost. Nothing is ever lost. We can alamo farichten. We can always correct it. What does it say in the Chumash? When is this Pesach Sheni? If a person was tummy, during Pesach they were tummy, and therefore the person who's tummy is not allowed to go to the Beis Hamikdash, not allowed to bring a korban, not allowed to eat food that's holy, so he couldn't bring the korban. Another possibility is he was not tummy, but he was far away. Far away we mean in simple in distance. He couldn't make it on time to get back to the Beis Hamikdash on time. And then it says lachem. The Gemara says, what does lachem mean? Lachem means that the fact that he wasn't able to do it was actually intentionally. It's not like by accident. He actually knew that if he does this and this, he'll end up not bringing the korban Pesach, and he neglected it. So I would think maybe under these circumstances, he's not given the opportunity to make it up. So the Torah says, under all circumstances, you're given the opportunity that you can correct it. And we learn from this, so this is something that Rabbi is passionate about, and Rabbi always spoke about this, that Pesach Sheni is not just teaches us a lesson, but I think by now you know, hopefully, after all the classes on Tishrei, and all the classes on Chanukah, and all the classes on Purim, and all the classes on Pesach, that a Yontif is not only symbolic and teaches us a lesson, it's actually a day that Hashem injects in us a certain power. And on this day, Hashem gives us the power to turn things around of the past. We all feel sometimes that the past is interfering with our present and our future. After all, this happened, and I can't get out of it, and I'm stuck. But according to Torah, I'm not stuck with anything. I could get out of it, and even if a person did Averis, even if he did any kind of Avera, like here, this is a very severe Avera, not bringing the Korban Pesach, even if it was done intentionally. Nevertheless, the Torah says, because Hashem is compassionate and gives us the opportunity that we can turn things around and we can do tshuva. The other point, which in the recent years the Rebbe is very passionate about, is that we learn from Pesach Sheni another very powerful lesson, and that is, it's a very, very unusual mitzvah. It's one of the mitzvahs, it's in the Torah, and yet it was given to us in a very strange way. All the mitzvahs were given at Har Sinai. This one mitzvah was not given openly at that time, but what happened was that Pesach Sheni came around, not Pesach Sheni, Pesach came around, and everybody's supposed to bring a korban, and there were people that they did not bring the korban. Who were these people? So there's different opinions in Gemara. One opinion is that when Aaron's two sons died, Moshe Rabbeinu asked some people to carry him out, and they became tummy. And because they became tummy, they couldn't bring the korban Pesach. There's another opinion that in the desert, they were carrying the body of Yosef HaTzadik, carrying it out of Mitzrayim. And that's why they were tummy. Whichever the case is, these weren't ordinary people. These are people that Moshe Rabbeinu designated them to do some very holy work. And they came to Moshe and they said, why should we lose out and be different than all of Klal Yisrael? Everyone's bringing a korban and we're left out. And Moshe Rabbeinu said, I'll ask Hashem. And Hashem said, there's another mitzvah. Guess what? I'm going to tell you another mitzvah that's there. And the Rebbe explained, what do you mean another mitzvah? Where did it come from? There was only 612 mitzvahs before. No, obviously there was 613 mitzvahs. There's one mitzvah Hashem did not give us, and he was waiting for them to come to ask for it. And once they asked for it, it wasn't that they got something that they wouldn't have had otherwise. As a result of them asking for it, the mitzvah was given to them and to all of Klal Yisrael, all future generations. Everyone benefited from that. And the Rebbe concluded that the same is regarding Mashiach. That from this we learned there's certain things that they're all set and waiting up there. Hashem is just waiting for us to ask for it. And when we ask for it, that's when we get it. Why? What does it care if we don't ask for it?
It's like you don't want it.
So what if we don't want it?
It has no value when it comes.
Okay. That's one reason. There could be many reasons. And the truth is, even if we don't understand the reason fully, but clearly we see there are certain things that Hashem says, this will come to you only after you ask for it. So the Rebbe says the same is in reference to Mashiach, that and there are many sources that Eibishter waits for us to ask for Mashiach. But why now? Why wasn't this sort of emphasized all the time? First of all, there are sources in earlier writings how asking for Mashiach is important. For example, in Shemona Esrei, there's one of the 18 brachas. We say, "Esemach David Avdecha Meiros Atzmiach," bring David HaMelech, and then it says, "Ki l'shuascha kivinu kol hayom," because we were waiting and yearning for your salvation. So the Chidah says these words. The word "ki" means because. What's the because? And he says these words that even if Yidden would have no merit, the only merit they have is that they're asking for Mashiach. That alone is enough of reason to send Mashiach. The Rebbe explains it though a little bit deeper and says, years ago, Mashiach didn't come because we weren't yet deserving. We went over this many, many times in these classes that the Rebbe pointed out, now we're living in a time after everything we've gone through and everything that happened and all the good that was done, that is no longer relevant. We are deserving, and everything that needs to be done for us to be able to receive Mashiach is already done. So what is Hashem waiting for now? One of those things are not that we have to do more tshuva, we already did all the tshuva we need to do. Now we have to show Hashem that we want Mashiach, and then he comes. And that is why the Rebbe introduced to say Ad Mosai, to sing Ad Mosai, to shout Ad Mosai, which means Hashem is waiting for us now to ask. And one of the examples is Pesach Sheni, that only when we ask did we get it.
Is Mashiach one of the 613 mitzvahs? To want, to wait, to ask?
No,
No.
It's not one of the mitzvahs. No. I mean, it's what?
It's a principle.
It's one of the 13 principles, and it's included in the sense in believing in Hashem, wanting to connect to Hashem, because that's what it's all about. Why do we want Mashiach? Not only because when Mashiach comes, everybody be healthy and happy, we'll have all that we need, but the main thing is to restore that relationship with Hashem. So really, Mashiach is based on belief in Hashem, belief in the fact that Hashem could change the world any moment, anyway, and the desire and the yearning and the craving to want to have a relationship with Hashem. So it's all based on the basic Amunah and Yanim. Regarding Lag BaOmer, so Monday, Mirz Hashem, we'll have a class on what Lag BaOmer is all about. Chassidus, why it's such a unbelievable Yom Tov, and we'll talk about it then. Okay. So we will now go into back to the Maimer. I mean, one of the reasons why, in reference to Mashiach, it's also important that Hashem wants us to ask, besides what you just said, that it's because otherwise it has no value. In a sense, that should apply to everything, but there's something specific about Geula and Mashiach, and that is when we're asking for Mashiach, we're asking for three general things. One is simply to go out of Golus, to go back to Eretz Yisrael and be a nation united, all the 12 tribes in one country, and no longer have to deal with all the persecution of the nations of the world and so on, the changes in the world. The second thing is the building of the Beis HaMikdash. And the third thing is to have, and all of us will be united under the leadership of a king who's called Mashiach, Melech HaMashiach. So when I say I want Mashiach to come, it includes all of these things. So regarding Melech HaMashiach, this is something which we spoke about also many times, is a king can only become a king if the nation wants him to be a king. Remember, there's a big difference between a king and a dictator. A dictator doesn't need the people to want. He just does what he wants, and he uses force. And these are all the tragedies that happen in the world from all these dictators, Rahman al-Islam. That's not kingdom. That's just brutal rulership. It's like a bully, a big bully. There's bullies in a classroom. There's a bully in a community, and there could be a bully in the whole country, and he's called the king, but really his real name is Bully. And then there's a bully of all the bullies, bigger king. These are just gangsters, criminals. What's kingdom? Kingdom is the real kingdom, like David HaMelech, Shlomo HaMelech, Moshe Rabbeinu, and the same will be with Mashiach, is the most incredible relationship between the king and his people, and where the people want the king to be their melech, and they submit themselves to his sovereignty, and he is not just controlling them, he's actually bringing out the best in every single person to create a beautiful country. That's what a real king is all about. So kingdom is based on us wanting him to be a king. And same with Hashem. There's a term that's used in reference to Hashem, which means Hashem is just ruling over us. These are the people that don't want it, but Hashem does what he needs to do. That's called Memshala. Malchus is when we accept it willingly. Malchusay, Baratzain, Kiblu Aleim. They accepted his kingdom willingly. That's kingdom. And therefore, it could be one of the reasons why regarding Mashiach, we have to ask, because by asking, we're also expressing our willingness to have Mashiach as our Melech, and that brings out the attribute of kingdom in the Melech. Okay, we're going back to the Maimer, and that is chapter 13. Yes.
Most, like you were saying, a lot of the kings are just dictators, they're not really kings. How does this explain the story where one of the Rebbeim was in jail and he recognized him from all this?
That what?
There's a story with one of the Rebbeim where the Tsar came to see him disguised. And he recognized him because of Malchus. If he was just a dictator, how did that?
I don't know if Tsar was a dictator. A dictator is a person that takes over kingdom by force, by killing people. And all that. I don't know how he became. I don't know the history of the Tsar. Anybody here know the history of the Tsar? How did he become a king? What?
It was the Russian royal family.
It was a family, a royal family for generations, and it was probably appointed by ministers, by people in the country. I mean, in a lot of the Arab countries, where how do they become kings? They kill whoever's running the country. They kill all the people around them, and then they take over, and then they kill any person who doesn't accept them, and that's how they become rulers. Saddam Hussein was a dictator. Yeah. Okay. So we're in the midst of talking about, what did we finish? Oh, you see,
I just want to ask you one question about Pesach Sheni.
Yeah.
Basically, like the reason, so that's one of the reasons why we do Tachanun is because like it's like a way to like go back to our like essence of who we are as people.
Right.
So it like enhances, I guess, like doing the Tachanun, because usually you said.
I mean, the Tachan, it's like we learned yesterday that Tachan could also be going from good to better. And anyway, what we said about Tshuva, it's not saying that every individual is Tshuva. But when we talk about Mashiach is not only connected to the individual, it's connected to the whole world and to all generations from the beginning of time till now. So when you look at all the Jewish people collectively, there's no need for Tshuva anymore. Collectively, we all have done that job already to be worthy and deserving of Mashiach. You know, you don't get it?
No.
I think we spoke about it a few times, but maybe I'll explain it to you privately. Okay? Yeah. We didn't finish, right? Almost finished. We're on page 104, almost at the end of Yud Gimel, of 13. So first he explained that even a person who serves Hashem perfectly, he also could feel humbled and he could feel far from Hashem, because once he understands Hashem's greatness, he realizes that the avodah that he doesn't do justice. Who are you doing this avodah to? And that's why even tzaddikim like Moshe Rabbeinu, tzaddikim like Sadia Goyen also did Hashamnu, because they were thinking about the way they know Hashem, and the way they know Hashem, they felt what they're doing is insignificant, and it's not enough to serve him. Then he asked the question, so if it's not enough, then why bother? So he answered, because Hashem ultimately expects of people to do what they could do. They don't expect of them what they can do. But nevertheless, he says, even though I should say to myself, I'm doing according to my capacity, but nevertheless, from time to time, when a person thinks about the greatness of Hashem, they realize how distant they are from serving Hashem in a really proper way. And I guess one of the things that it helps is in reference to arrogance. Sometimes people are arrogant because they have a lot of money. Sometimes they're arrogant because they have a lot of power. And sometimes can be people arrogant because they feel, why I serve Hashem on such a high level. So one of the things that can help a person, and one of his taka, serving Hashem at such a high level. He really is. Davens beautifully, learns beautifully, does mitzvahs, doesn't miss out on anything. What could you say to such a person? So the answer is that when you think of who you're davening to, you'll realize that what you're doing is not on such a high level. You're very, very far from really serving Hashem truthfully, because He is infinite, and what you're doing is like a drop in the bucket. So that's what it helps for a person. It helps a person not to develop arrogance from their avodah. So now we're at the bottom of page 104. After explaining how a person could feel that bitterness and that distance, even if they're doing the greatest things, so he says, "But kolshkein, how much more so, Kishim is when he thinks about it, Shaveda b'kiyim ha'Torah mitzvahs, that his avodah of Torah mitzvahs einay kvi emes shaloi gamkein. Not only it's not according to the emes of Hashem's standards, it's not even according to the emes of my standards, who I should be holding, as he's mentioned before. But Koshkin, how much more so if it's even less than that? That in his davening, certain thoughts come to his mind that are disturbing thoughts and foreign thoughts, thoughts that don't believe there. So then he realized that his davening is really not up to par. Ubefrat, and specifically, if he finds and remembers things that he said verbally or actions that he did, that were not directed to Hashem. And these are things he realized that this brings him at a distance from Hashem. He calls that from thoughts of this nature, mismarmer benafshay. He feels that bitterness in his soul. And he cries on the fact that he's so distant. And like we keep repeating that it's not about crying, it's about generating a feeling of yearning and craving and a desire to want to become closer. When you're close to something, you don't feel the closeness, you don't appreciate it the same way as you're distant from it. Anything that a person appreciates is when they're distant from it, that's when the feelings for it are more intense. So therefore, this is bonus, is there to feel that bitterness, to feel that humility, feel how everything I do is insignificant compared to Hashem. And as a result of that, it develops a stronger desire to be connected. Then he gives the summary. Avodah b'shiflus, the avodah of humility, where does that come from? By being mizbein, by meditating on richuke, how far I am from Hashem. Ubeifan avodosai, ubefrad binyan hanevad, especially the greatness of Hashem. If I think of who I'm serving, I'll realize how much I'm lacking and how insignificant my avodah is. So why did he bring this in? That there's two ways of serving Hashem. So let's go straight to number 14, page 107. In both of these approaches. Now, by the way, again, look at these two people that are davening. It's very, very different than our davening. These are people that really spend time thinking, learning, meditating. They develop feelings. We're talking about feelings that they have a real sensation in their heart, either the simcha sensation or that distant sensation. It's a real strong feeling in the heart. But nevertheless, even these people who are davening on these levels could still have that blemish of yeshus and that coarseness. How can it be? I'm excited about Hashem. I'm besimcha of Hashem. Isn't that pure bittul? It's me and Hashem thing, only about Hashem. So again, what he's going to say now means in a subtle way, in an unconscious way. You have to really search, in a sense, to recognize that is there. I know when you learn this Maimon, you might be thinking, so why are we learning about this? We're not on this level anyway. We're not there. So there's a word amongst Chassidim that a lot of times we learn about people that serve Hashem on a very high level. Very often we tell stories about a Rebbe, we tell stories about a Chassid, but even the Chassidim were on a very high level. And why do we even talk about these stories? That, if anything, will make me frustrated because I can't be there. So there's an expression in Yiddish, am a vase wie medarf sein, Hälfte sein wie meken sein. What does that mean? Translating that, if we know the way I should be, if I know the way I should be, it'll help me be the way I could be. Is that understood, or I need to explain? In other words, every person makes an effort to improve. But when the standards are lower, you make less of an effort. I always think of this story because I think it's the most perfect example I could think of. And you probably heard it from me again, but it's okay to hear it again. Okay. And this is a true story of a friend of mine who's in construction, and he has people working for him. And the people who work for him, they have muscles, but they're not really the most upper class type of people. And one day, one of the workers said to him, Rabbi, I'm really not such a bad guy. I'm a good guy. I tell you, Rabbi, I never killed anybody, and I was never in jail. So I always ask the question, we're going to have graduation in a few weeks. Could you imagine me introducing one of the students? And I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this young lady never killed anybody. She wasn't in jail even once. She'd be so embarrassed she'd run out of the room. So how could it be that a person is priding himself? I never killed anybody. I was never in jail. How does that make sense? The answer is that's where he lives, in his neighborhood. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry ends up in jail or kill somebody, and he didn't. So he feels an accomplishment. He feels an accomplishment. And if he'd be living amongst people that are more, accomplished in life, of course he wouldn't say that. It wouldn't make any sense. And that's why, if you would say it in a place like this, people would be embarrassed and humiliated. It would be an insult, not a compliment.
What did your friend say back?
What?
What did your friend say back?
I never heard that part of the story.
That's funny.
I just want to conclude.
Sorry.
So what I'm saying is that if I look around and I see that people are doing this, that, and the other thing, and I know, I can't do that much learning or davening or mitzvahs, but when I see them, I make an effort to be somewhere in proportion to that. But if people around me are doing this, I make an effort to be in proportion to this, which is even less. I'm just going to say this story, and then, so this is a story that the Rebbe also spoke about by Farbrengen more than once, that there was a Jew, they called him Yossel Klotz. What's Klotz? Klotz is a block of wood. Why did they call him such a name? He used to learn day and night, literally 18 hours a day. And he sat on this block of wood, but he was learning for so many years that just from shaking back and forth for 40 years, he carved out a beautiful seating place in the piece of wood. So they called him Yossel Klotz. It wasn't an insult. It was bringing out his greatness, how diligent he was in learning. So one time when he was getting older, someone said to him, you're older, you have to take care of your health. I know learning 18 hours a day, you've been doing this your entire life, but I think at this point in your life, you could relax a little bit. And if you learn 14 hours a day, it'll be okay. So he said, Chas v'shalom, I don't want that because of me, someone else should convert to Christianity. He said, what are you talking about? What's the connection? So he goes like this. If I start learning 14 hours a day instead of 18 hours, then this guy who's been learning 14 hours a day is going to say, if that's the case, then I can relax and learn 8 hours a day. I don't have to learn 14 hours a day. And the guy who was learning 8 hours a day is going to say, he started to learn 8 hours a day, so I can relax and I can learn 4 hours a day. And the one who was always learning 4 hours a day says, wow, he's relaxing, so I can relax. 1 hour a day is also going to be good. And the one who only learned 1 hour a day is going to say, if he's learning 1 hour a day, if I learn 1 hour a week, that'll be fine. And the one who used to learn 1 hour a week will say, I don't have to learn altogether. If I go to shul 3 times a day, that'll be fine. And it keeps going down and down. And then he says, it comes to this Jew who says that I just go to shul Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. The other one says, if he's going to shul on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, I can just go on Yom Kippur. And the next guy says, if he's only going on Yom Kippur, I don't have to go altogether, not even once. I'm a Jew and that's enough. And the next guy says, I don't even have to be a Jew. What it basically is saying is, when the people on top lower their standards, it trickles down all the way to the bottom. All the standards go down. So basically, first of all, we're learning about people that are davening in a way which is very unusual. And nevertheless, subtly, they can also have yeshus. So we can say to ourselves, if that's the case, then we have to be extremely careful. If they have it, then we can also be having it subconsciously, not realizing it. And that's why, so therefore, and also because when you know the way it should be, it'll motivate us at least to be the way we could be on our level. Yes, Adina.
Thank you. I was having a conversation with a Chabad girl one time, and she was saying how the Rebbeim with the Tzaddikim, with Chassidim, whatever, they're davening for 9 hours a day. I never ever related to them. I was like, we didn't have a job. I have a job. My 30 minutes might be as much as their 9 hours. I have a job, I have responsibilities. they didn't have a job, then like, what's to compare and why did they
have a job? Like,
I don't know, it just
Yeah, no one could do that. I mean, someone told me he has a business partner he works with in Manhattan. So he once brought him 770. It was during the Rebbe's minyan, like 10:30. He walks in, he looks around.
like no one works.
He goes, "Does anyone work around here?"
Right.
First of all, most of the people are bachrim, and second of all, yes, there are people that they work at night. They work in the second half of the day. And a Rebbe, his job is to serve Hashem and to be a source of inspiration to others. The Rebbe works harder than anyone else, and also a lot of the people that used to daven very long, depends who. A lot of these people did it only on Shabbos during the week; they didn't have time, and those who did, obviously, everybody that's expected to work and support their family, and they must have had a different kind of a schedule. So how is it possible that a person is davening, feels that the davening is generating true simcha, and yet there's yeshus? Again, in a subtle way. This is the yeshus that the Yetzer Hara camouflages and he doesn't realize. So it goes like this. The first approach, the avodah of joy, yeshus can surely be present. That the one who loves still retains his self-identity, which means the joy and the excitement that he feels, even though it's not joy about food, it's not joy about entertainment, it's not joy about money, it's joy about Hashem. But still, it could be that it could be that what's conscious and what is the really driving force to this excitement is that I am on a level that I love and I'm excited about Hashem. And he explains it a little bit more. The same as with love. So what's present in a feeling of love is all, first of all, any kind of feeling of love involves a little bit of self-love. Because the feeling of love means that I love this person, which means I'm enjoying and I have pleasure from loving this person. A mother who loves her child has pleasure from loving her child. That feeling of love is a pleasurable feeling. But I love the child. So it's possible when a person feels love for Hashem, which is the thing that's really the motivating emotion, it's more the fact that I am getting the pleasure than the love for Hashem. And is it about me or is it more about Hashem? And I'm sure there are many levels in this, but that's the point is bringing out. It could be excited and besimcha, but it's more about what I'm feeling and what I'm getting out of it more than just pure, exclusive love for Hashem. So what could a person do? I mean, I'm only human and I am aware of myself. So he says, it's explained in another place. We need to find a sort of advice how to overcome this. How is it possible that simcha shebebchin is bittul? In fact, this is the Aaron the candles. It had an influence and it affected all the Yidden in the entire world. To draw down chokhmah into the emotions, in other words, emotion in general has to do with the feeling of self. Any emotion, whether it's positive or negative. I mean, if you feel anger, of course, it's about the feeling of self. But even the feeling of love and even the feeling of being drawn to someone, it's all about what I feel. But naturally, the feeling of I could be a smaller, could be a capital I, could be a family size I, a very big one. It comes in different sizes and shapes. But the point is that if I focus less on self and I focus more on the inyan that's happening, I'll feel less self. And that's what he says. The midas should have seichel sort of behind it, inspiring it, and that'll make the difference. And when Aaron HaKohen used to light the menorah, we know the oil represents chokhmah. That would sort of bring Chachma to all the Yidden in the world, because the 7 candles represented all the Yidden in the world, and that helped us have bittul. By the way, when we do mitzvahs, we also affect the whole world. I don't know if you pay attention to it, but I ever one time elaborated on this. You do sphira every night. Most of you probably say that prayer after doing the sphira. If you pay attention to the words, I'll read it to you. Maybe if I read it to you, you'll hear it a little bit loud and clear. Let me see if I can find it here. Is there any regular siddur? I once saw, I had this picture of people davening in shul. Everyone is holding a cell phone, davening from a cell phone. And one guy is davening from a siddur.
Like, what's that?
Yeah, and the kid turns to his father and says, "Hey, Dad, what is that? What's a siddur?"
So
But anyway, there's a siddur. And in the siddur, when we do Sfir Soimer, we say, I'm asking Hashem, and because I'm counting, it should correct this Sfira. And then we say, and through this, these are the words, Yushpa, Shefa, Ram, Bechol Ha'olamus. This is going to bring an abundance of spiritual sustenance to all the spiritual worlds.
What will?
What I'm doing, I as an individual saying these words and counting the Omer is bringing light to all the worlds.
By counting?
Yep, by making the bracha and counting, right? And then in addition to that, it's going to make a tikkun for my nefesh, my ruach, and my neshama, and correct any blemish in me. But so certainly when people tzaddikim like Aaron HaKohen lit the menorah, that had an effect on all the neshamas in the world.
Can I ask you a question?
Yep.
When you say the bracha of the sphira and you count, so is that, and it's like Netzach Shabbat, all these whatever, does it work on you automatically?
It
Or do you have
does.
to watch
Subconsciously, it has an effect,
It
right?
does.
Yeah. If I think more about what it means, like I told you, Rabbi Jacobson in his book, he goes into the details a little bit more. It's more helpful, but the truth is, it definitely, like everything else, just saying the words and counting the Omer, making the bracha subconsciously has a certain effect that it refines us on a certain level in this area.
Oh, it's like the therapy, they do words and it connects the brain.
Right.
Kind of.
So I want to say that even though he says, how can I recognize that Yeshus? Let's go back to something we said before. One of the ways that I can recognize is very often is simply by the outcome. Like I'm very much besimcha. I'm so excited. I'm so happy. What happens after that? Like how do I act? How do I relate to other people? If I end up as a result of that, I'm so happy. So there's that I become very loose with my words, and I say something that's offending another person, and you say, how could it be that from davening and being besimcha, something not good should come out? And the answer is because there's that yeshus in there. In other words, if the outcome is something negative, that's an indication that even though I'm having these interesting, nice, beautiful feelings, but there's also what's buried behind it is a feeling of yeshus.
The prayers are not changing you.
What?
The prayers are not like.
Or at least not completely, right. But also part of the problem is, let's say a person's very much besimcha. I'll give you an example. He's in shul, very much besimcha. He's so besimcha, he's just clapping his hands and singing. And the guy next door says, shh, I can't concentrate. And he's thinking, who cares about your concentrating? Hashem, I love Hashem. But that's not the way it's supposed to be. So in other words, in his mind, it's as if I'm doing something good. I'm so excited about Hashem that really nothing phases me, nothing gets in my way. But if the other person is being disturbed by what I'm doing, so my question is, but how could it be if I'm doing something good, how can something not good come out of it? And the answer is because there's a yeshus in it, and the yeshus leads to the negative results. So again, what he's going to say here is definitely on higher levels, but the point is that even midos need bittul. And we once learned a mimer that's behind the inyan of washing our hands before eating, washing our hands from negovasa. The hands are the midos. The right hand is chesed, the left hand is gevura, and they represent the midos. Water, mayim, is Torah, represents chokhmah, wisdom. Pouring the water on the hands is like having the chokhmah, the wisdom, pour over the midas to not allow them to go into the wrong direction. Because midas even if they start off good, could go off in the wrong place.
That's only for washing for challah or also?
I think all washing, whether it's for challah, whether it's washing negvasa in the morning, it's always about chokhmah influencing the mitzvahs.
Also, what about the feet? Is it also like the zeros? Because the Kohanim would wash.
The Kohanim would wash their hands and the feet. So I guess it probably, because according to Chassidus, I mean, the feet are an extension of the midas. You know, it's the head, the heart, and the hands and the feet are extensions. They're results of the midas. Okay, so he's going to go into this a little bit more, how the bittul will prevent the midas from having yeshus and leading to negative things. But very often we could find that people who are truly excited about something good, but they don't realize how they're hurting someone else in the process because they think they're excited about something good. So he's explaining here, excited about something good still needs to have bittul, even if it's about something good. Imagine someone so excited about something that they learn, it's so beautiful, it's so deep, and they're talking to someone, the other person says, I don't get it. And you said, I don't understand. Where's your brains? Can't you understand this? In other words, you're so excited about what you understand that you become offensive. You say something offensive to the other person, that's wrong. But I'm thinking, oh, just because I'm excited. No, it's not, it's no good. That means there's something about my excitement has a certain ingredient which is not positive. That ingredient is called yeshus. You find it on a lot of things, it's yeshus. Gluten. Yeah.
What if you dive into Hashem for like, let's say parnasa, like I want to have parnasa, I want to have like a shidduch or like kids. That's for you, but like you're asking, I want to have it. So with that,
so that's definitely more of a feeling for me. But at the same time, davening expresses my bittul to Hashem because I'm recognizing that all is up to Hashem. It comes from Hashem. Like the people who don't daven, what are they thinking? If I work harder, if I do more advertisement, if I speak to the right people, get the right connections, what I have to daven? What does that have to do with Hashem? The mere fact that I'm davening is recognizing that Hashem is in charge and He's the one who gives parnasa, and that's why I'm asking Him. So even though it's about me, but it's still an expression of me connecting to Him. Yeah. Okay, to be continued. So good Shabbos and Sheni, enjoy the matzah and enjoy not having to say tachlon. No, but
it's Friday.
Friday night anyway we don't say it. Right? Last night we wouldn't say the Shabbat. Sorry, should have said it yesterday.
Yeah, but I'm getting back.